In this section, we want to learn about rational exponents and simplifying radical expressions. Previously, we learned that nth root of a is a to the 1 over n power. Let's use it and calculate the value of 27 to the 1/3 power. 27 is 3 times 9, and 9 is 3 times 3, so 27 can be written as 3 cubed, and we have 1/3 power here. Then we can multiply the exponents together. 3 is 3 over 1, and 3 appears in the numerator and denominator, so they cancel each other. So that becomes 3 to the 1 power, which is 3. We already learned a to the m power times n is a to the mn power. Previously, we assumed m and n are integers, but we don't have to say that those two are integers. Even when that is not integers, this principle will go through. We also know that when we multiply the fraction, we multiply the denominator together and numerator together. So a over b times c over d is ac times bd. Let's simplify. 16 to the 1/4 power. 16 is 4 times 4, and 4 can be written as 2 times 2. So 16 can be written as 2 to the 4th power to the 1 over 4th power. So because of the same reason, these two will cancel each other, and we have 2 to the 1 power, which is 2. Negative 243 to the 1/3 power. What you have to be careful about is this expression is the same as -1 times 243 to the 1/3 power. What you have to be careful here is that's not negative 243 parenthesis 1/3 power. To proceed with the calculation, we wanna indeed, this is 1 over 5 power, not 1/3 power. When we decompose 243, that is 3 times 81. 81 is 9 times 9. 9 times 9, and 9 is 3 times 3. So what we can say is 243 is 3 to the fifth power because 3 appears 5 times. So minus 1 times 3 to the fifth power to the 1 over 5 power. So that's negative 1 times 3 to the 1 power, which is negative 3. With the same principle, it becomes negative 1 times 625 to the 1/4 power. (625) is 5 times 125. 125 is 5 times 25. And 25 is 5 times 5. So we can say that 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 make 625. So minus 1 times 5 to the 4th power to the 1/4 power. So that's minus 1 times 5 to the 1 power, which is minus 5. As I mentioned, m over n can be rewritten as m times 1 over n, or we can rewrite that as n times m. So when we have m over n power, we can rewrite it as m times 1 over n power, or 1 over n times m power. So in this case, we decided to write it as a to the 1 over n power times m power. And we know that a to the 1 over n power can be rewritten as nth root of a. We have to write this small n here. And we keep m power as it is. In this expression, we use m over n is 1 over n times m. In the next expression, we will write m over n as m times 1 over n. Then 1 over n is to the a to the m power. So 1 over n can be written as nth root of radicand. This time the radicand will be a to the m power. So those two are the same. These are the things we learned previously. We assumed that those numbers m and n are integers, but in this section, we don't assume that m and n are integers. We just assume that those are real numbers, but the formula go through in the same way. A to the m power times a to the m power is a to the m plus n power. A to the m over a to the n power is a to the m minus n. A to the 1 over n power is a to the negative n power, and this power is distributed. So a times b to the n power is a to the n power times b to the n power. The next problem is w to the 2/3 power, 2 over 5 power times w to the 1/2 power. So we have w to the 2 over 5 power plus 1 over 2 power. We have to add Dodge fraction. There is no common factor between 5 and 2. So for the least common denominator will be 10. So make the denominator 10 to the first fraction, we have to multiply by 2 over 2 and 1 over 2. To make the denominator 10, we have to multiply 5 to the numerator and denominator. So by doing so, we could make the denominator 10 for both fraction. So fraction becomes over 10 and 4 plus 5. So that's 9 over 10. So we can write that's w to the 9 over 10 power. The next one is fraction. So w to the 4 over 7 minus power in the denominator. Let's calculate. 4 over 7 minus 2/3 equals 4 over 7 times 3 over 3 minus 2 over 3 times 7 over 7. Why? Because 7 and 3 doesn't have any common factor, so multiplication of two numbers will make the common denominator. So in the first fraction, 3 is left, so I multiplied 3 to the numerator and denominator. Similarly, we multiplied 7 to the numerator and denominator to make the denominator 21. So that's the denominator 21. The first one is 12 minus second one is 14. So that's minus 2 over 21. So we conclude the problem with w to the minus 2 over 21. The next one is about square root of 54. 54 is 2 times 27, and 27 is 3 times 9, and 9 is 3 times 3. So it is 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. So we can write it as square root of 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. We can separate like square root of 2 and then square root of 3 squared times square root of 3. Then I said this 2 and this square root will cancel each other. So we will get 3 for this part. And we have 3 times square root of 2 times square root of 3. So we can write it as 3 times square root of 2 times 3. And that's 3 square root of 6. So here what I used was square root of a times square root of b is square root of a times b. That comes from this principle. Let's move on to the next problem. 192 is 2 times 96, and 96 is 2 times 48, and 48 is 4 times 12, and 12 is 4 times 3. So square root of 192 is square root of 2 squared times 4 appears twice, 4 squared times 3. We can separate all of them, then that's square root of 2 squared times square root of 4 squared times square root of 3. So that's 2 times 4 times square root of 3, which is 8 square root of 3. Next problem is 32 square root of 32 u to the 10th power. If we factor 32, then 2 times 16, and 16 is 4 times 4. So we can say that's square root of 2 times 4 squared, and we know that square root of a squared equals a, absolute value of a. So we want to simplify by removing the square root. So we express 10 as 2 times 5. So we write it as u to the 5th power squared. And then let's separate all those. Square root of 2 times square root of 4 squared times square root of u to the 5th power squared. So that's square root of 2 times 4 times u to the 5th power. So that can be written as 4 u to the 5th power square root of 2. The next problem is square root of u to the 13th power. By using this principle, a to the m power times a to the m power equals a to the m plus n power. This time we want to split u to the 13th power into the largest even number power times u. The reason is we can remove the square root for the even number power part. So after we do it, we split that like this. Then square root of u to the 12th power can be rewritten as square root of u to the 6th power squared square root of u. So this 2 and square root will cancel each other, and then it becomes u to the 6th power square root of u. In the next problem, we do something similar. We have square root of 12 w to the 9th power. 12 is 3 times 4, so I wrote it here. And we split this 9 into even number, largest even number plus 1. So obviously that is w to the 8th power times w to the 1 power. Then that's square root of 3 times square root of 4 times square root of w to the 8th power times square root of w. So that's square root of 3 times square root of 2 squared times square root of w to the 4th power squared square root of w. So we just simplify further, then that'll be 2w to the 4th power square root of 3 square root of w. That is 2w to the 4th power square root of 3w. Next problem is square root of 12 times t cubed times w to the 4th power. Again, for the number, we have to factor. That's 3 times 4. That's written here. And largest even number power plus 1. So t cubed, we can rewrite it as t squared times t to the 1 power. W to the 4th power can be written as w squared squared. So that equals square root of 3 times square root of 2 squared times square root of t squared. Square root of t to the 1 power is t. Then square root of w squared squared. So that's a square root of 3 times 2 times t times square root of t times w squared. So that's 2t square root of 3. Let's write the square root together. So square root of 3 times t times w squared. Let's reorganize it. Then that's 2t w squared square root of 3t.